June 15th, 2009. 3 million people were in the streets. A torrent that could have swept everything in its wake. A few days later, were dismissed as dust and dirt.
Amir, author of Zahra's Paradise. Welcome to Amnesty International.
Thank you, Drewery.
Amir, Zahra's Paradise is a graphic novel. There's some amazing pictures inside. It's an amazing story. Can you please tell us a little bit what it's about and why you wrote it?
I wrote Zahra's Paradise after the 2009 protests that took place after the Iranian presidential elections. It's the story of a mother who's searching for her son, Mehdi. Her name is Zahra. And she's learned that her son has vanished, basically, after the protests, and wants to find out what has happened to him. Where is he? And those questions, basically, where is my son, begins a journey into the Iranian judicial system, this vast labyrinth. And so we follow Zahra as she goes through hospitals and prisons and bureaucracy and the morgue and so on, trying to find out where her son is. And our hope was that it would help people understand what human rights mean in the concrete to real people on the ground in Iran and elsewhere.
As she goes through her journey looking for her son, Zahra meets a wide range of people which you seem to want to use as representing facets of Iranian society and the Iranian experience of today. What were some of those experiences?
I think one of the things that I was hoping to communicate is that Iran has a very rich and old culture in which life and love are at the heart of it. And that life and love isn't just an abstraction in terms of poetry, but it's actually lived. So what I wanted to show was that in a situation of crisis, how Iranian society helps in one way or another with this odyssey that this mother has to go through. As abstraction sometimes, it's hard to understand human rights. But when you have a cab driver who sees a mother who's looking for a son and says, I'll take you, no problem, don't pay anything. When you have a Xerox store owner who's doing the same, it's at that level sometimes that Iran works, that the love flows. And love is ultimately the force that conquers death. And I wanted the love that's amongst the Iranian people to be reflected, because I've been a beneficiary of that. And I think that's where the resistance comes from. If we accept death, then we won't do anything about it. But if we love one another, then we help one another.
There's a big problem, isn't there? She's got to go through, as you say, the criminal justice system. It is a labyrinth. There's some amazing images that set out just how much of a labyrinth it is. What does the book tell us about the criminal justice system?
In Iran, you can just about be abducted at any point, almost by anyone. And then it becomes you don't even know where people vanish. You don't know how to find them. There's no file number. There's no reference number. You don't know where to go to. It's this kind of panic and terror of the highest kind when somebody that you love disappears. And so the art of reconstructing, of finding where a person is, who has arrested them, why they've arrested them, how they're going to punish them, how much it's going to cost you, it's really a vast arbitrary system. And it's done in the name of the Prophet, in the name of the Iranian people, in the name of our religion, in the name of the most sacred principles. You have the most horrific acts taking place. And so really one of the questions that we were raising is, if what Salman Rushdie has done to the name of the Prophet is wrong, then surely what the Islamic Republic is doing in the name of the Prophet is 1,000 times worse. And I felt, as an Iranian, that bothers me. Rape in the name of the Prophet, murder in the name of the Prophet, lies and deceit in the name of the Prophet, and at the expense of the youngest and brightest and best children of Iran. Unacceptable. Our God is not their God. Our God is a loving, merciful, and compassionate God. It's not the crane, Drewery. How did the crane, this monstrous crane, become the symbol of Islam and the symbol of God? Is it in the Quran? No. Is it in the Hadith? No. Did the Prophet say the word of God is a noose that I want you to wrap around people's necks? No. So, let's just defend our Iran.
In some senses, it's a very harrowing tale. But you mentioned that there are instances where love comes through. There are the man who has the Xerox shop and the books and so on. What are the positive points? Where does society, Iranian society, show itself to be really resilient and full of this love that you're referring to in the book? Where does that happen? Where do you find that?
Well, one place where it happens is, of course, in Zahra's paradise, the main cemetery. That's when somebody dies, that's a place where society affirms its solidarity and its love and its connections. And so we've seen throughout this period, right from the beginning of the revolution till now, that death in Iran is also a point where allegiances are affirmed. So we see it in Zahra's paradise. But the other thing is that I don't actually believe in absolute evil. I actually think that even the guards in Evin prison, and from what I've heard, even they can be moved by the fate of some of the prisoners that are in their control. So we were not out to demonize people, but to show and open up the possibilities for the good to express itself. Personally, you see the good expressed in the Iranian people everywhere. Look at the three hostages, the three hikers who were released. I mean, Iranians were delighted that they were released. But they are speaking about the screams that they were hearing in Evin prison. These are 3 American kids who were there for 2 years. And those screams matter. There are people behind those screams. And what I love Amnesty for, and what I love other human rights organizations for, is that we hear those screams and we don't let go of them. We look for the name behind the scream. And we want to know which door they're behind, and we want to open that door. We share that goal.
What do Amnesty members need to do as we go out campaigning, using the book, drawing up on the references and the inspiration that represents? What do we really need to try to achieve with this?
Stories convey life. So telling the story, guarding the memory matters. Making Iranian authorities aware that we know what they're doing and we know who is being held in Evin prison matters. But really we have to open up the gates of Evin prison. I mean, I really think we need a concerted global campaign focused on Evin prison, focused on the criminal justice system, focused on the head of the Iranian judiciary, and focused on the head of the Islamic Republic, Ayatollah Khamenei. He, after all, is the guardian of, or claims to be the guardian of Islamic values and of justice. And so he is directly accountable for every single life that goes into Evin prison, as are members of Iran's parliament, as are Iran's clergy. And if they're not willing to step up to the plate, they should understand that they will be held accountable, that the day will come. Nelson Mandela, who was in Robben Island for 25 years, is now free, a free man. And he's free because people all over the world cared, fought for his release, and not just his release, for the cause for which he was in Robben Island. And Archbishop Tutu has always said that if South Africa could change, any country anywhere in the world could change. So I think Amnesty, your symbol, that beautiful candle, it's just perfect, right? Because hope, you can't extinguish it. Love, you can't extinguish. And one way or another, no matter how strong the repression, it will express itself. So Amnesty members can light up the candle, the spirit, in all the ways that they wish.